Welcome to another episode of Shine on Oklahoma Music. Today we have a big star in Oklahoma music, but not in the genre that a lot of people think of that come from Oklahoma. We have Chris Cutta, who is R&B and hip hop, and you're headquartered right here out of Oklahoma City, and you were born here, right?
Absolutely. I was born right up the street. It was Presbyterian Hospital and grew up on the north side of Oklahoma City.
Now, I'm told that you went in and produced before you could drive. Is that true?
Yeah, that's pretty true. I've been, coming up in the church. I was a drummer. My mother played the piano, so that was just kind of always in me. But I walked in my first studio at 12 years old, and I haven't looked back since then. I've seen all the buttons and knobs and seen the engineer work, conducting the whole session. So I said, I think that's what I want to do.
And Kit Wakely, who we've interviewed, is a Grammy winner, and he thinks you're the king. He thinks that you have brought all of this here in Oklahoma and that you have totally lit this genre on fire here in Oklahoma, and you've been able to make so many success stories with it. You've, among those, had a #1 R&B hit album.
Yes.
Talk about that.
So, when it comes to me charting and stuff, sometimes I don't even pay attention to it. I work so hard I'm not paying attention to the scoreboard. I'm just trying to work the next project. And then, every now and then somebody say, hey, that song just charted, or that you just got a gold record for that. And I'm like, did I really? So then I go check, okay, I do have one. So that's kind of, when it comes to all of that, it's just like a natural thing. That's not why I do it. I mostly do it just because I love to do it. I love being around the creative process. I love being around creative people, because I find that you learn so much from people from different walks of life. And a lot of people that's where they're most vulnerable to me, is when they're doing music or being creative in their own space. And so for me, it's like education for me, and then to help somebody else bring their vision to life and display it in front of the world. For me, that's all the gratitude I need. Now, I like the awards, I like being recognized at certain things, but that's not why I do it. So.
And how old are you now?
I'm 40 now.
Okay. So we'll probably need to do another one of these interviews in 5 or 10 years when you're going to rack up a whole bunch more successes. But delving into those that you've got now, you went out to LA at a very young age, right?
So I would say graduating high school, I jumped, I think it was about 2 weeks after I graduated. An artist I was working with based out of Oklahoma, we went on tour. We did like a 15-city tour, and it expanded over maybe 3 months. So didn't go to college, jumped right on the road, started working, and I started building relationships with other producers and engineers in these different cities we was working in. So started off from going from here, then I ended up living in Dallas for a couple of years. Then I would bounce back out to LA, stay with some of my relatives out there for a few months, go back to Dallas, come back to Oklahoma City. So I was doing that circuit for about 5 years. Then I think it may have been right around 2008. And me and another producer I work with, he's been my mentor for the past 15 years now. We decided, okay, we're going to move up to Philly, where they had a development center for artists. We were going to move up to Philly. And so we drove from Oklahoma City to Philly.
And tell us your mentor's name.
Hamza Lee. Hamza, I think he's from LA, but he was very instrumental into the success of Color Me Bad. He did a lot of their early hits, and once they signed their deal, Hamza traveled with them as their personal producer and engineer as well. So I met him, I want to say maybe 2006, about 2006, 2007. And the guy that was mentoring me before Hamza actually trained him. So it just kind of all came full circle, and he does live here.
And so you got up to Philadelphia, but you came back.
So we was in Philadelphia. I think I was there for about a year and a half, and we developed several artists and several bands out of the facility up there. And it was one of those experiences to where, you had to being around other producers and other musicians that are aspiring. They got, they have a buzz, they're doing really well, but it's almost like a songwriters camp, songwriters and producers camp. And so we all worked with each other and sharpened each other's skills for that short amount of time we was all together. And that was probably was a great experience for me, just to be able to collaborate with other people that it's not from, I'm out of my comfort zone. I've never worked with a rock band before. And it was kind of like rock / hip hop. And then another lady, Shasha Jones, she's from Oklahoma. She's now become one of a very very big songwriter in the business today.
And you helped start her career?
Yeah, I started working with her when she was 13, 14 years old.
Incredible. And so, and were that in the studios that we had here in the metro area of Castle?
Yeah, so Castle Road wasn't around at the time. We were working out of a studio by the name of Diamond Sound Recording Studios. That was it's owned by the Burton family. The Burton family are real influential here in Oklahoma as far as in jazz and R&B music. I always call them those like my extended family or my godparents, because they allowed me at the age of 16, 17 to come in their facilities and just hone in on my craft. Didn't charge me anything. I remember the first day I was there, I'll just tell that story. So I'm sitting in my room and I'm just doing sketches on my beat machine and my keyboard. My older brother, he's also a promoter at this time, and he's doing shows and stuff out here. And so he brings this lady to my house, and she walks in my room and she hears what I'm doing. She's like, "You doing all that on that just those few pieces of equipment?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Pack all that up. We're going to the studio." So we get in the studio. I'm like, "Okay, bro, what's going on?" He's like, "Man, just pack it up. Let's go." So pack it all up. We take it a ride. First stop we make is at the airport. We pick up Larry Blackman, lead singer of Cameo. We pick him up from the airport, and I'm like, "What's going on?" So we all go to the studio, and so I find a little corner, and I'm just sitting down. I'm just kind of watching them. I don't really know what's going on. And somebody told me to hit play. I hit play, and everybody in the room lit up. And from then on, they was like, "Make sure he's here every day." So that's how they allowed me to come in, work my craft. It also allowed me to build relationships with all kind of different artists that's based here in Oklahoma. And that was just a blessing for me. I think that was probably one of the biggest things that could have happened for me, is meeting the Burton family.
Wow, that's very cool. And so how many people have you produced at this point?
At this point, I was just producing, a bunch of local independent artists, and I mean, everybody from the neighborhood, everybody that wanted to rap, so I would go to school with my keyboard, my boombox, and I would sell cassette tapes of beats. So we'd be at the lunch table, and I have my stuff out, and you'd have some kid in school. He wanted to rap, so I'd make a beat, record on my boombox on the cassette tape, sell it to him for $30. So I did that for a long time, and then I think principal, everybody got wind of it, and they was like, "Okay, what's going on?" I think they thought I was selling dope or something like that. So they told me I couldn't bring my keyboard back to school, but I lived right across the street from the high school. So I got to the point to where I wouldn't even go into fourth hour anymore. I was going home, and I would go home, and it'd be a line of people lined up at my doorway. my mom comes home from work. She was like, "Why all these people at my house?" I said, "Mom, I'm selling beat tapes." She's like, "You doing what?" I said, "I'm selling beat tapes. Like, you making music and putting it on a cassette tape?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "How much you making?" So I said, "I'm doing like $30 a piece." She's like, "Okay." At that point, I think she realized, okay, I really had something going.
Got a talent.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to high school?
Putnam City Original. That's where I graduated from.
And you are famous for this beat. You came up with like a beat machine, right? And that was something that you really got known for in the production world?
So yeah, I was in the production. I was a go-to producer here in Oklahoma City, or in Oklahoma, period. I think at one point I had, this is before I'm 21, I had maybe 7 songs on the radio on the local station here, all playing at once. So that was kind of like a thing that all the artists would say, "Hey, Cutta, let me get a beat so I can get my song on the radio." They thought everybody felt like I was the pathway for them to get this.
Is that how you got the nickname Cutta Classic?
No, the name, I guess I got the name Cutta Classic because everybody used to call me Young Chris. And I guess it was when I was doing stuff with other artists, and I'd say, okay, when we was doing business, when I was selling beat tapes or something didn't work out, I would cut the artist off and be like, okay, I can't deal with you no more. Everybody they called me Cole. Like I was, was cutthroat. And so my brother was like, we're gonna start calling you Cutta. So that's how they came with Chris Cutta.
How about that? And so when you were working with all these, like who was the first one that you produced that hit big?
I mean, even now, I don't even know if anybody I've produced has really hit big. I would say the most notable person I've done something for would be, and I would say it's co-production. So Kanye West, his family is originally from here, and I was working with one of his cousins. And his cousins happened to be signed to him at the time, and we was working on his project. And Kanye ended up producing some records for him. I ended up producing some records for him. And at some point, we was both producing on the same record. So that's kind of how the collaboration between me and Kanye had.
What was he like to work with?
Kanye was cool. I mean, he came by the studio a couple times, and he just wanted to hear some new vibes. I remember hitting play and he would start rapping over certain things. So that was kind of like, whoa, Kanye's really in here rapping over my stuff. So, but nothing really ever became of that. It was more so, my relationship with Kanye was more so just a networking situation. There was never a time that we was just in the studio just working together. But he knew of the work I was doing and what I was submitting. Like I would submit songs and tracks for his projects he was putting out, and just collabing with his cousin. I think that's kind of the extent of where that went. So, but that was fun. That was a good experience for me.
And so, do you have you had one album go all the way #1, right? Went gold. Talk about that album.
So, that was actually a single that ended up charting. So just like I said before, like all of them. Okay, I think one was with Meant to Be. They're a local R&B. Oh, I don't like calling the artists local. I like calling them independent artists because I look at everybody I work with is not just local. So I call them independent. So they're an independent R&B group from Oklahoma City, and we have been working together for years, and then we finally decided to just kind of lock in, and I became their full-time producer, and we did a record called No Ring, and it did really well on the iTunes charts. I forgot what number it charted at. I mean, they said it was #1 one week, and it was number 28 some other week. So then I worked with other different producers that's from here that, you know, went on to work, you know, and we've did collaborations with other artists that charted or got gold or platinum records. So for me, again, it's not about the charts or all of that stuff. You know, I enjoy them, but for me, I just love the process of it. Especially where I'm at now, because now I'm more into a executive role and a management role. I'm still doing production, but I'm more so producing everything around it. Not just the music, but just the development of the artist. I'm producing the brand of the artist, you know. So now it's kind of, I take what I learned in the studio and apply it to every aspect of the business now.
So what is your favorite?
My favorite is always my love. That's being a musician and creating. I've grown to love being hands-on with the business side, though.
And so when do you went out there and you've done all that, at what point did you decide you'd made it?
I still don't feel like I've made it. I don't know if you ever feel like you made it, you know, because I always feel like there's another level. There's always another level. I feel like I've done well. I'm successful at some things, but I see where I could get stronger at. I see where I can grow and develop more, you know. I'm always looking at everything as a half, you know, glass half full.
Are you doing this full time now?
Absolutely. I've always been doing it full time.
So you never had another job?
I tried to go work some other jobs, and I think the last job I had outside of the business, I was working at a call center, and it was either do this tour or you gotta stay here. Job wouldn't let me take off. And I said, I'm not missing this tour. And I told my boss then, and he already understood, because he had been in, he was in the music business at some point. So he's like, you got to make a decision. And I told him, I said, well, I'm gonna go on tour.
And so what are some of your notable appearances? Which ones in your mind stick out of all those places you've gotten to perform?
Well, I could tell you more so about places I've worked at that stick out most to me, and would be like Stank On Your Studios in Atlanta, Georgia, which is founded by Outkast. Mm-hmm. I went there, I think my first time working there was 2007. I just produced a record for independent artist out here by the name of Nitro, and we took it to John Fry. He's a mixing engineer in Atlanta. Well known. He's well known for doing a lot of the Lil Jon and the East Side Boys mixes, and we took it to him, and that was like my first time in a professional mixing session with somebody of that stature. Mm-hmm. Then I'm in Outkast's studio, so I get to see all the plaques and all the charts and all the articles, and I'm in that place, and I'm like, wow, this is history. And full circle, I still go to that studio to this day. Every time I'm in Atlanta, I go there.
Well, you've been all over, though, but you come back here and you headquarter here. And some might say that's difficult to do in Oklahoma, where they think of us as country or maybe some rock. How difficult is it, or is it difficult for you to operate out of Oklahoma?
I think at one point I could see that being true, because for the genre of music I specialize in, we didn't have the infrastructure. We had the talent. I don't think it was embraced as much as the other genres. But now we got access to everything. There's no, before, you had California, LA, they have their culture and their sound. New York has their culture and their sound, same as the South. But now everything's just kind of mixed and, intertwined with each other. So with the internet being the way it is, it allows everybody to connect And so now I don't believe it's difficult. I think it doesn't matter where you at. I think it's just a matter of what your network is. I think that's the biggest thing right now is building a network that works for you. And I think that's what I've been able to do. And I've been able to, not only me building the network I've built, is now I can start exposing other independent artists from here to that network and just letting them know you don't have to move everywhere. Now I would encourage every artist from Oklahoma to travel and go experience different cultures and, if you're in this business, to go really be in it and live in it, because like I said, we don't have the record label offices here in Oklahoma. Sometimes you need to go into those markets and be able to walk into the doors and go get those real-time experiences to really, just to develop. So, but for the most part, we can do anything we want to do.
So why do you choose to do it out of Oklahoma, besides the fact that it's home?
Well, it's home, but I want to see independent artists from Oklahoma, from the soil, in my genre, and the hip hop and R&B and pop music. I want to see them succeed. I want to see them be successful. We're mostly known for country music and contemporary gospel, which is fine, and I do all of that. I have no problem with that, but I know there's the hip hop and R&B community it's been so undeveloped here in this market, and I feel that's kind of what my purpose is to be able to help other artists from here in that genre be successful.
And you have family here still, right?
Absolutely.
So tell us about your family.
So I have all my family's from here, mother and father.
She graduated. My mom and dad graduated from Douglas High School. My mother, they both worked multiple jobs, raising me. And so I lived with my older brother and my two sisters for a while. I'm 10 years younger than my older brother. My sisters are a couple years older than he is. So brother, my brother, my dad, my uncles, they're all coaches. So we were real big in sports as I was growing up. So, but I always loved sports, but that was never kind of like, I wanted to do it, but once I really got into music, I was like, okay, I got to put all my energy into this. But then I ended up getting married at a young age. I got married at 21 and ended up having my first son when I was 19. And so during that time, I'm on tour. I got a family here back at home, trying to balance it, not knowing what I'm doing, just trying to make it all work, Then I ended up having another son. So by that time, it was like, okay, it's time to get off the road, come back home. You got to spend your time. You got to spend the time with your kids. So I think that was kind of like, giving me some foundation and some grounding and just saying, okay, pay attention. You got to raise your kids. But I was also being pulled in so many different directions. And, it was tough, not knowing how to balance it. I'm 19, 20 years old, and I got 2 kids. So, but by the grace of God, he's shown me some things, and it wasn't always perfect, wasn't always easy, but I believe everything happened for a reason. And, to this day, I got my oldest son, he's stationed in San Antonio right now, he's in the Army. And then my youngest son, he's getting ready to graduate high school next year, and he's doing well for himself as well. He's also a musician.
I was just getting ready to ask, and thanks for your son's service, by the way. And so you expect that your younger son's going to get in Dad's footsteps?
Oh, yeah. There? He's a drummer now. He's playing in a couple different bands. He's already touring. So he just got back from a tour maybe last weekend he went on tour.
Did you say you had musical legacy in your family?
So my mother, she was part of a group called Gospel Truth, and I believe they were like one of the first gospel groups to get a record deal and go on tour from Oklahoma. So she would take, when she was touring, she would take me with her on some of the Chitlin circuit tours, and so that, I think that's kind of how it really just got into me, being able to watch her and watch her perform. You know, my dad was playing semi-pro baseball, and I was on tour with my mom.
So how long did you do that?
I don't really remember. I just remember bits and pieces of it. I know she didn't. At one point, she had to stop going on tour and had to pick up a second job. I remember parts of it, and I know she played in the church all the time, so that was a big foundation of it as well. You know, she kept me in the church, and I took a liking to playing drums, so I started playing drums in the church. So all my cousins, all my brothers, my sisters, we all went to church together.
And what was the name of your mom's group?
The Gospel Truth.
Gospel Truth.
Gospel Truth. And I believe the Gospel Truth, they all had daughters that became the Truthettes. And the Truthettes became really influential here in Oklahoma. I think they sold quite a few records as a gospel group as well.
That's interesting. Well, so of all these things that you've accomplished at a mere 40 years old, what are your highlights? What do you think are your milestone moments?
My milestone moment, I would say, I'm producing and developing an artist right now by the name of Gorilla Zoe. He's had, you know, he hit it real big in 2007. And I know the way I met, so I take a trip out to Atlanta, Georgia for the Coalition DJs Power Summit. And I'm building my network of working with all these DJs, and then so they're introducing me to all these people, and so I get an opportunity to meet Gorilla Zoe. I know who he is, but I know from what I was told, he had kind of stepped away from the music business. He didn't really want to do it no more. He was just kind of burnt out. He kind of crashed out on it. So met him there, and you know, they wanted me to send him some music so he can, you know, just let him listen to it, see if he's interested in doing some music with me. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, he just said he's not really doing any music, so why am I sending him some music? So I sent him some music anyway. About a week later, he FaceTimed me. He was like, hey man, I've never heard anything like this before. He said, I'm flying out there next week. I want to come work with you. I was like, wow, okay, great. Didn't think too much of it, didn't think too much more about it. And then maybe about a week and a half later, he was here in Oklahoma City, and we were doing our first record together. The reason why I say that was monumental, because to be able to inspire somebody that's already been at the top of the mountain, that's already had all this success, and then walk away from the business, and me just sending something just on blind faith, and it inspired them to want to get back into it and to want to create again, that's monumental for me.
That's pretty cool. And so you're doing those recordings here in Oklahoma?
Yes, so we've been recording his project for the past 3.5 years now.
So what do people say when you bring them here from out of state to record in Oklahoma? Are they delighted or surprised?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people are surprised that he's coming out here, you know.
Shattering stereotypes, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just him, you know. Ray J, he comes out, he used to come out here a lot to work with me. So artists by the name of Boosie, he would come out here to work with me. Another person that I think that's influential into getting these artists out here would be somebody like Melvin Childs. He's a movie director right here out of Oklahoma City, and when he's shooting movies here in Oklahoma City, he's bringing in all these actors / artists that do music, which in turn allows me a chance to network with them and meet them, and now that opens up a collaboration situation. So I think people like Melvin, people like myself that have built these networks outside Oklahoma and are bringing it back and paying it forward, I think that's breaking the stereotype as, okay, Oklahoma isn't just one type. They have so much more to offer.
And I've personally witnessed you do that, where you've mentored a couple of our finalists from The Voice and American Idol, and they've come to you for advice about where to go next steps. And you have a rotating, is it 4 cities that you do artist profiles?
So we do, it's a networking event called New Music Monday. It was founded in Atlanta by the Coalition DJs, DJ Big X and DJ Funky. And I ended up building a real good relationship with this guy by the name of DJ 3. He's based out of Wichita, Kansas. And so I ended up, like I said, I went to the Power Summit in Atlanta the same year I met Gorilla Zoe. And I watched the program they put on. I was like, well, you know, I'm working at this studio, Castle Road. It's almost the same layout as Stankonia. I bet I could do that here. So sitting down and talking to those guys about it, they was like, okay, you got our blessings. And so the first show, we planned the first show, it was about 3.5 years ago at Castle Row Studios. I flew out the founders of the Coalition DJs because I wanted them to see what it was. And we did the New Music Monday, and they said, wow, Cutta, nobody's done it like this outside of where we're at. And they do it all over the net. They do it all over the United States in different markets. They got them in Detroit, the DMV area, Florida, Dallas area. But they said nobody had put together an event like the one I did outside of what they were doing at Stankonia Studio. So me and DJ 3 decided, okay, let's do a tour with it. Let's give these artists more opportunity to build a network and to get their music out and to be able to connect with these DJs. So we tapped into all these other DJs in these different markets. So we got DJs in Tulsa, DJs here in Oklahoma City, DJs in Wichita, St. Louis, and Kansas City. We said, let's do a 5-city tour, 1 week, once a month. And we've been doing that for about 3 years now.
And so do you go every time?
I don't hit all the cities every time, but I try to get...
Because today's a Monday that we're filming on. Did we disrupt your schedule today?
No, we decided not to do it this month because we have the Coalition, the New Music Monday anniversary we're going to do in Kansas City next month. And so that's going to be it's going to be a full weekend of that. So we said, let's just not do it this month and put our focus on the anniversary in July.
And when you have these gatherings for ballparking, how many people would you say show up?
So I did the anniversary here 2 years ago. We had about 500 people come in.
Wow.
For that. Local artists, and we had...
I mean, I'm in my mind, I'm sitting here and thinking about maybe 12 to 50 or something, but you're 500 artists.
We had about 500 artists show up, and they came in from everywhere, from Atlanta, LA, New York, Texas, Houston, Kansas. They came in from everywhere. And it's just about building a network. These artists want to be heard. They want to build. They want to. It's really, can you find somebody at these events to help add value to your team and to what you're trying to do?
That's incredible. And that's almost become like what you were referring to as the business side of this, as much as the magic that you do and the switchboard in the studio. So do you have a preference, which one you're enjoying more now at this stage in your life?
I think it's a balance now, because I try to, on the business side, I'm learning to, just like when I'm producing, sometimes I need to bring in different musicians. I need to bring in a bass player. I need to bring in a guitar player. I need to bring in different vocalists. Same way on the business side. I need to bring in a publicist. I need to bring in somebody to manage the finances for this particular event. And so I'm learning to utilize all the resources I have around me to make them work for the big picture, so to speak.
Well, we're doing this for the History Center and we do it for the permanent archives. Given that, how would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered as somebody that cared about the arts here in Oklahoma. Somebody of high character, somebody with, integrity, and always tried to get the best out of people. That's how I would want to be remembered.
Well, from everything I've been told by all the people that have gotten a chance to work with you and my limited time of being able to be around you, I'd say you're right on the mark. So that's definitely my impression of you. You're just one of the nicest guys I've ever met in this industry, and I appreciate how accessible you are. You've helped us here with our local arts community with a fundraiser and mentoring, as I've mentioned, with some of those that are trying to get their own path started, and I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate that you've brought this focus here to Oklahoma and trying to really further bolster our, like you maybe mentioned, it was just untapped resource or not fully built out infrastructure. You've really put so much into that, and I would say you have put Oklahoma on the map.
That's the goal.
Well, I guarantee it, we're going to need a part 2 for this in a few years. Whenever you get to talk about all the stuff that you've been planning right now, it's going to certainly flourish. Chris Cutta, it's been an honor to do this with you. Thank
Absolute
you very
pleasure.
much. It's another episode of Shine on Oklahoma Music. Thank you, and we'll tune in and we'll have another episode soon.